Hello everybody, it's me, Hazer. Sorry for being absent the last little while. I know it's been a little while since I uploaded a video, but I figured with the SCC qualifier group stage coming up this weekend, I'd do a quick video on what's going on with that, what's been going on with that, and just kind of try and tell you everything that you need to know about it. Sorry if my voice is a bit funny. I've been a bit sick the last few days. Got some lemon and ginger tea to try and counteract that. Well, it's still too hot to handle, kind of, but yeah. So let's start off with what is the SCC. The SCC is the Smite Challenger Circuit. It's formerly known as the SML, the Smite Minor League. It is the league below the Pro League. There is one league for NA and one league for EU. Last season it was 6 teams per region. Same again this season, so 6 teams per region, and we're in the qualifying stage. So phase 1, the entirety of last season is pretty much abandoned, and you have, you know, a whole load of new teams come in and try and qualify into the SCC for this season. So that's what's been going on lately. We've had 3 weeks of open bracket. So there were open bracket tournaments where the top 4 teams that came out of each week qualified into this group stage that we're going into. The top 3 teams from week 1, which for EU was Elysium, Team Joystick, and Just F6. And from NA, it was Sturdy Artisans. A name I'm going to butcher, Tiburones de Tijuana. I think it means sharks from Tijuana. I remember someone telling me. And the Herculean Hoofs. They were the 3 NA teams. I'll leave the rosters down below. I'll probably flash them up on screen at some point as well for you guys, but might be a bit too quick. So if you want to see them, have a look down below. But those are the 3 teams from each region that would draft the teams into groups. There are 3 groups of 4 teams for each region now drafted. And those teams will go into these groups and they'll play a best of 3 round robin within their group. And the top 2 teams from each group will qualify into the SCC for phase 1, and they'll be playing there for the phase 1. I think there's only 2 phases of SCC this year. So it's a fairly decent deal qualifying in for phase 1, and it's a long time to be without if you don't make it. So pretty important things coming up this weekend for the amateur scene, or the semi-pro scene, I guess we could call it. Yeah. The games are going to be broadcasted this weekend. I think we'll get to see each team at least once. So I think we'll see 6 best of 3s from EU on Saturday, 6 best of 3s from NA on Sunday. That'll start about 11 a.m. ET, 3 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. CET. Remember, it's currently daylight savings in North America, but not in Europe yet. We have daylight savings on the 28th, I think it is, a week on Sunday. And the games are broadcasted this Saturday and Sunday. So we are an hour closer to North America than usual, my fellow Europeans. So make sure, pay attention to that. Don't get caught out by the timings. Yeah, I guess I could just quickly go through the groups. Let's start with Europe. Let's say Europe Group 1, which is the group with the first seed in it. Group 2 is going to be the one with the second seed. Group 3, the one with the third seed. So, you know, the first place team from Group 1 picked the teams in Group 1. I don't know exactly how the draft went. I think it went something like 1, 2. So first team picks, second team picks, third team picks, first team picks, second team picks, third team picks. Second team picks, third team picks, first team picks, or something like that. It was something nuts. There was some nuts drafting going on. You know, I could find out, but I'll put it in the description below if I remember, or if I remember to look it up. But anyway, the drafting was a bit weird in terms of order, but that was discussed amongst the players, and they decided that was the way they wanted it to be. So cool from the admins to change that. Originally, I think it was 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, or something like that, which I think people thought meant the third seeded team ended up with an easier group, so they switched it up. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. The groups for EU, let's go through them. So Group 1 is going to be Elysium. That's Terrorem, Adapting, Angry, Spudio, and Trixtank. Probably the favorites from EU. I think it would not be really a stretch to say that they would be the favorites with a lineup that stacked Terror, Angry, and Spud obviously having a great season in the SCC last year and adapting, and Trix, very well-known players. The other teams in there are Bad Girls Rule, which is SKyZiLynx. Don't know how to say this person's name. I apologize. I think I'm saying it wrong. Apparently it's Skyline or something. I don't know. Somebody said that. Somtex, Zearoe, Naythe, and Tantalising. And then you've got Sadface, Sager, Mastkill, HedzeHog, Aisart, and JacobHL, and the accounting department, which is Deathwalker, iceice, Wlfy, Kalas, Okeanos, and AlphaJackal is the coach for that team. So they have a six. They get a special shout out for having a 6-person roster. This group, I think everybody would probably go for Elysium and accounting department coming out of it, and I would as well. But I would say it's not as cut and dry as you might expect. Sadface did knock accounting department out in week 1 of the group stage qualifiers, if I remember correctly. It took accounting department 2 weeks to qualify. They were 3rd in week 2, so definitely not as dominant a roster as you'd expect if you hadn't really been watching the qualifiers. They didn't come out as all guns blazing as one might have expected, so definitely a group to keep an eye on. I would say Elysium, I would expect to run away with it at the top, probably not drop a game. But maybe they will. You never know. If there's a team they drop a game to, it would be accounting department. It's just that's the kind of team that will play up. But whether either Bad Girls Rule or Sadface can make it over the top of accounting department, I don't think they will. But I think it's not as unlikely as you might think. Group 2 for EU, Team Joystick. They were the 2nd seeded team. That is LeMoGoW, Markus, Sap7, formerly known as Sapling Man, Echrome, and iSilenced. I would say this team looked definitively the 2nd best team. It was like there was Elysium up here, then there was Team Joystick here, and then there were the rest of the teams way below them. From what we saw in week 1, no one really looked as good as these guys. They should have taken a game off of Elysium actually in the final, but they ended up getting 2-0'd. But they definitely showed a lot of potential. A very strong team, but they've ended up in a very strong group. I don't know why they've drafted this group. Maybe this is some tactical drafting by Team Joystick, but I feel like they've put themselves in a spot where, and they put all the teams in this group in a spot where I don't know who's going to come out of this group. Let's go through the other teams. Pandamonium, which is Okeanos, Sarpeii, Joshy, Predss, StreakUp, and they've got a coach as well, which is Mikhail. Snake Hunters, which is Kozi, Rapio, Gunter, Shoxy, Foxy, and Vaporish Coast, another very strong team. And Dark Horses, Captain Otti, Worst Turtle, Chekio, Draco Marino, iDavy, and they've got Kassir, the former Obey coach, as their 6th. So this group, I think, is by far the most stacked of the 3 EU groups. I think just on name power alone, I mean, you've got really, really well-known players on each team. Rapio and Coast, obviously very, very strong in the console league. Coast looking great last year. In the SOC on that team with Prime. You've got Pandamonium, who has Joshy on it, and StreakUp, 2 really, really good players. Josh was fantastic on Luminosity in Season 6. StreakUp looked great last year and the year before in the EU SCC/SML/ whatever we're calling it. Sarpeii up and coming as well in the jungle. I rate him. So I'm interested to see how Pandamonium do. And then you've got Dark Horses, which is got some of that former Pappy's roster on it. Worst Turtle, Chekio, and Draco Marino in there. Captain Otti as their solo laner, a really good up-and-coming Spanish solo laner, I'd say. Maybe even he has come up. And they've got Davey in there, the lone UK-based player on that team with Kassir coaching. I'm really interested to see what happens in this group. I would have to go for Team Joystick making it through. And then after that, I feel like it really is a toss-up. I'll say, let's give it to Snake. No, let's give it to Pandamonium, but it's tight. It's tight. I honestly think Pandamonium, Snake Hunters, Dark Horses, any of the 3 of these could make it through. Team Joystick could even fall down in this group, to be honest. It is a really strong group, so they're going to have to bring their A game. Maybe some tactical drafting there to see if they can have because you can draft to try and have an easier time in the SCC. I mean, it's a full split where you're knocking another team down. I mean, you have worse practice going into tournaments and such like, which are what really matters in my opinion. But some teams might want to do that. I don't know. Maybe they just thought these other 3 teams weren't that good. Team Joystick. We'll find out. Anyway, group number 3, in my opinion, the weakest of the 3 groups. Although, I don't know, group 1 and group 3 are maybe much of a muchness. Just not such a dominant team at the top. Group 3 has just F6, we're the third place team from week 1 in EU. They are made up of Lestimics, Rulot, Isotos, Rotwin, and TotiGR. Another all Spanish team, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to check, but I'm pretty sure just F6 are all Spanish. And Thunderhead as well, I think, are all Spanish, which is Daffel, the Ray Shadow, It's Mark, Dark Wizard, Alfred Me 99, and then you've got the Creeps, Sibi, Saragazek, formerly known as Original, Farrakrick, Agent, and Kaspanify coming in, some of that former Optimus Gang roster. And then you've got the Mighty Mages, which is Azrael, not a meta slave, who I believe, what did he used to be called? He was a console, Raze, I think was his old name, console jungler, not a meta slave, Hawk, Calvin, and Raiden. I think this group is pretty open for the taking. I think, honestly, again, I don't know. I need to put a concrete prediction out there, but I want to preface it by saying any of these teams could make it. Mighty Mages did finish first over that Joshy and StreakUp team in week 3 of the open bracket qualifying, so maybe a team to look out for. Creeps as well, definitely a team with a lot of experience on there. Thunderhead and just F6, they're not inexperienced as well, but they maybe haven't played at as high a level as some of the guys on Creeps and Mighty Mages. Hawk having been in the SCC, Azrael having played at the top of the SOC, I guess. Sibi the same, Kesp and Farrakrick and Original such Saragazek all played SCC level. At least I think Saragazek has all played SCC level, and the Thunderhead and just F6 guys might have just been slightly outside of that level in their comp experience, but definitely a group full of strong, competent teams. I'm going to say that in this group, I'll give it to Creeps and it could be just F6, could be Mighty Mages, I think. I'm going to give it to Creeps and Mighty Mages. Although I think just F6 or Thunderhead could easily make it through. Who knows? Depends who shows up on the day. And that's going to be it for EU. I think EU is slightly weaker than NA when it comes to SCC, especially in terms of name power, as you'll find out in a sec as we move on to the NA groups. How long through this, man? 12 minutes already? All right. It's going to be a long video. I hope you guys are interested enough to watch it through. Okay. NA groups. Group 1 going to be the Sturdy Artisans, the team that took first place in week 1. Which is Relentless One, Sino, Pegon, Eonic, and Stuart. Definitely a strong team. They were originally called Team Stu, but I believe they had to change their name. They're in a group with Yep Vibes, which is Nizzy, Davies, Unscathed Master, Maple, and Josh Goggles. Hands Off the Merchandise, which is Jess Resurrected, who I believe used to be called Why Wicked, I think it was. He definitely had a name starting with a Y anyway, but he changed his name after, I think, week 1 of qualifiers. My Sweet Potato, Y Waddle, Bones, and Zaxi. And then you've got Yeah. Sorry if I'm not saying that right, which is Uzi, Oathsy, El Leon, Dingo Dial, and Ogriff. I think this team is pretty cut and dry in terms of this group, is pretty cut and dry in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Sturdy Artisans, the Sino, Pegon, Relentless One, Eonic, Stuart team, they're pretty definitively the best team in this group. But then I think you've got Uzi, Oathsy, El Leon, Dingo Dial, Ogriff. They took a couple weeks to qualify, but they definitely looked good when they did qualify. Uzi in particular on the Cucullin impressed me a lot. I'm actually really impressed with Oathsy as well. I think he's definitely one to look out for as an up-and-comer. And then I think you've got Hands Off the Merchandise, I would have as your third best team. Pretty good. I think they play a lot off of Bones, Sweet Potato, and their solo laner, Jess Resurrected / Y Wicked / whatever you're calling him. They could definitely make it. Yep Vibes, I was a little bit less impressed with them in the qualifiers. They'll have to come out and play a little bit better if they're going to make it. I think Nizzy and Davies, the jungler and solo laner, had some flashes and some good moments, but yeah, I don't know. I think they played Afro support in one game, and I wasn't too impressed with Maple on that. Maybe Maple has more to show. But for that group, I would say I expect Sturdy Artisans and to make it out. I do know slightly less about the NA scene, by the way, just to disclaimer this slightly. I know more about the EU amateur scene than I do about the NA one, so if anything I say is well off, then I apologize. Group 2, I gotta say this name again. Tiburones de Tijuana, the Sharks from Tijuana. Heed, Cope Baby, Spreen, Bluegin, and Guy J, the team that finished second in week 1 qualifiers over the Herculean Hoofs, which is the Baskin team, which we'll find out in Group 3. But Cope Baby put on an absolute show against that team as a wheelish. I think I tweeted about it. You could probably find it if you have a look. Maybe I'll link it if I remember. I'm not going to remember to link all these things. It's too much. But anyway, they've looked really good in week 1. They did kind of get outclassed in the final, I'd say, by the Sturdy Artisans pretty comprehensively. But we'll see if they can show up in this one. They're in a group with Borderline, which is Karmic, Jangaroo, Privative, Monster, Bomber, and Antics. You've got Shadow Dogs Unleashed, which is Malachi, Luconium, Xeno, Jabber, and Pringles. And you've got the Winner Dogs, which is Aquarius, Anninster, Crimson, Gamma, and Yuji Box. Again, in this one, I feel like maybe it's just the NA gaps are clearer for me, but I feel like Tiburones, the Sharks, are your number 1, your number 2. It's not far off. Our Winner Dogs, definitely a very strong team. Could definitely beat Tiburones if they play well on their day. I would say the third best team in this group is the Shadow Dogs, and then Borderline going to be bottom of that for me, and then I'd go for the Tiburones and Winner Dogs to go through. That's my prediction for that one, but maybe Shadow Dogs or Borderline can come in. I think it's unlikely to see Borderline come in with a shock, but I say Shadow Dogs could maybe come in with a shock when maybe they come in with some cool strats and make it through. Definitely not weak players, those 5 guys. Group number 3, the Baskin group. You got the Herculean Hoofs, which is Meerkat, Masked, Baskin, Gino, and Snoopy. Definitely a very strong team. I think people were shocked to see them go down to Tiburones, basically Cope Baby on their Willix, took them apart, absolutely destroyed them in that game. It was crazy. Baskin was on the top and still did a lot of work, but they just got they got 1v5'd by Cope. They're going to be in a group with Mamba, which is Snaddy. I think it's Giliara in the jungle, although I did see Jingu Bang was registered on this roster as well, so I apologize if I'm incorrect on that. I don't know if it's Gili or Jingu who's in the jungle. Baron Airy in the mid lane, Promise support, Chuba ADC. And then you've got the Fishies, which is Chronic, Kermi, Nehu, Oceans support, Renjaru ADC, and Sharks as their coach. And you've got 6 Fortune. I think this is another name change, but that's Dishonored, Short Fuse, Mineral, Panda Turtle, and Benny Q. This one I feel like is less cut and dry as for who will go through or who I expect to go through. I think the Hoofs, just have too much class and talent to not make it through. I mean, Meerkat, Masked, Baskin, Gino, Snoopy, that could be an SPL team. They're 5 fantastic players with a lot of pedigree. And I would expect them to make it through. As for the other 3 teams, I'd probably give it more to Fishies and 6 Fortune to fight this one out. I think Mamba might be slightly below them in terms of where I expect them to play. 6 Fortune, they could have won week 2. They were slightly unfortunate in week 2 not to take down which is the Elion, Azzy, etc. team. I believe they had a DC in one of the deciding team fights, which ended up meaning they didn't win that one out. They could have won it. Dishonored on the Cthulhu looked absolutely fantastic for them. Mineral and Panda Turtle seem to be playing, they swap between support and mid, which is super interesting, so I don't know where we'll end up seeing them play. Fishies, Kermi in the jungle, I think is kind of the bread and butter for this team. He's gonna decide how well they play. I think he's their, from what I've seen of them, he's sort of their star player and the one who's doing great work. Oceans looked good on certain picks as well. So we'll see if teams can draft things like Ymir away from him. I think it was the Ymir we saw him on a lot. Could be totally off on that, but I think it was Oceans. We saw play Ymir a lot and play it to great success. But in this group, I'm going to say that we see the Hoofs and Fishies or 6 Fortune. Fishies or 6 Fortune. Let's say Fishies. I'm going to go with the Hoofs and Fishies, and let's say Sharks coach diffs the enemy teams by being the 6th man there. Helps them out. Yeah, okay, I've done it. I've talked about these teams, these groups that are coming up. We're going to be streaming it over on my channel. It'll be streamed on Smite Game as well. So I hope you come and check it out. We're going to be doing a charity stream alongside it as well. And we're going to have some cool goodies to give away. So I think it should be a fun weekend. If you got any suggestions for any charity incentives, let me know down below. As always, I'll be putting this up tomorrow, which is Wednesday, I think. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say about these. I'm excited for the group stages. I think you always see some shocks in these ones. There's always a good team that doesn't make it through, a team that you'd expect to. At least there certainly were in the open brackets. It took, I mean, for example, just in EU, you're looking at that Hawk team, you're looking at that StreakUp team not making it through until the third week, which is pretty crazy. In NA, you got teams like Powerful, which was Weekend's team, just didn't make it through at all. Yeah, took it until the second week, although I guess with the standard of the NA teams, it's not too surprising that they didn't make it through. But yeah, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you at the weekend for these games. Bye.